Yeah! Woo! In the middle of the target on the lower plate. Yes, boys.
So, 4 kilometers.
Woo!
Now you
That is how much elevation we just dialed into the scope, never mind this entire system. Pretty crazy. Guys, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to chat you through this 375 Shy-Tac from Victrix. This is the Tormentor model that you see in front of me here. Obviously, the rifle is safe. So we are running quite a bit of kit on this rifle, and earlier this morning we used this exact rifle to shoot 4,022 meters, so 2.5 miles. So officially I have hit, and two of my mates have hit at 4 kilometers using the exact same rifle. Now, our target wasn't quite big enough, and I worked it out. We were shooting a target which was just about wide enough where the target width in terms of wind was under 1 MOA, okay, at 4 kilometers. It's pretty nuts. So, as always, let's go from tip to butt. So on the very front, we have the Victrix muzzle brake. I will show you guys close up. By the way, the surrounding conditions here, it's like a sort of foggy day, so it was very difficult for me to set the exposure on the camera, so we're just gonna have to go with it. So this is the muzzle brake the rifle came with, and we opted to shoot this 4 kilometer shot with the muzzle brake because when we start adding mechanical incline into our scope, because remember, we want as much up dial as we possibly can, right? So we've got our optic zeroed, then we start adding some incline. I'm exaggerating that, but when you add a massive suppressor to the front of this rifle, effectively what happens is you just start looking into your suppressor and you can't see anything. Now I'm going to get into some of the stats that we needed to make this shot. The numbers are staggering. If memory serves, we dialed a total of 103.6 mils of elevation, not dialed. That's sort of everything combined, which we'll get to. And that equates to about 417 meters above the target, okay, where we were aiming. That's how high we had to aim to actually hit the target. And wind-wise, we were holding, I think, 6.5 plus. We dialed in 6.5 on the Razor Gen 3 that we're running on this, and some of us were holding another 3 mil on top of that. So that kind of puts you in that 45 meter range for actually drifting in with the wind into the target. So pretty freaking spectacular. And as I said in the beginning, 3 of us hit it. Now, barrel length, this rifle is completely stock, by the way. It's a 1 in 9 twist, 30-inch barrel that's on this guy. On the front, we have a GRS bipod. You'll see it kind of mounts over the rail, which is cool, and it was really stable because the rifle kind of hangs on the bipod. And then we start getting to the back here. Now, on the front here, you guys will see the Charlie Tarek. This is a prism that we mount on the front of the optic. This prism alone gave us 100 MOA extra, or roughly 29 MRAD or mils extra. Our Razor Gen 3 we're running on this. Also something super cool is this EraTac mount, which gives us the ability to effectively add and remove incline into the system. Then also something that's not pictured here, which I will get us a close-up of, is our Night Force prism that I also ran on the front of this. And we basically went maxed out the scope, okay. We had the 100 MOA or 29 mils plus the additional, I think it was 50 MOA or about 14.6 MRADs worth of mils we get from the Night Force prism to give us basically a total, okay, of around about 93 mils. Then we also had to max out pretty much what we could do with the optic itself. So the Gen 3 Razor in MRAD has a 10 mils additional holdover that we had to use, and that almost lined up absolutely perfectly with what we needed to make the shot. Then on the side of the rifle, something we also had, which is a new bit of kit, is the MDT electronic bubble level, and that basically made it really cool to reference whether or not the rifle was level. Because with an extreme shot like this, if you have a little bit of cant in the rifle, you'll actually dial yourself so far off the target that you probably won't see that happening. Then pretty cool, Victrix, the Tormentor, you can still shoot from a box magazine, which wasn't the case. Often people ask, why do the long-range shooters load their bullets individually? because oftentimes the bullets are so long you actually cannot feed them from the magazine. Now, as with our 2-mile shot, we were using the 350 grain Sierra Match Kings to make the shot, so not ideal. We had started the process of load developing with the Burger Solids, the monolithic bullets, the 379 grains, but we ran into a little bit of pressure science and we wanted to be safe. So pretty radical overview, extreme rifle for extreme long ranges, and it was super cool that myself and 2 of my friends got it done in one morning, and we call ourselves the amateur king of 2 miles. So it was really cool. We had a ton of fun, and we'll be back next time. I think we're going to go for 3 miles, and then eventually we will get to 5 kilometers. Now, while this bullet's in flight, my friend Leo also managed to hit 4 kilometers, and I thought a nice way to end this off would be to hear from his experience regarding the shot. Leo, tell us about your experience shooting 4 kilometers today.
First of all, I want to say thank you to Timur for inviting us here. It's been an absolute incredible pleasure to be a part of this little project here. And I want to say thank you to all the guys that have been involved helping us put the loads together and put this platform together. And it's not been easy. I think we can certainly improve. But it was very, very exciting. I wish I did it quicker than I did. Unfortunately, it took me quite a few shots to get there.
How many shots exactly?
I don't know exactly, but it's a lot. But as Stalin used to say, there's a quality to quantity, so we'll go with that. But in reality, I think this platform can get more consistent to this kind of range, so it's definitely doable. I think we saw that from the amount of hits we had on the correct elevation. So we were very affected by wind, and I think that's down to the ammo that we're using, and particularly the ballistic coefficient is not good enough for that kind of distance. And I don't think it was ever designed, and it's frankly not consistent enough. So I think our next step is to go to solids and see what you can do at this distance on a stable, kind of more consistent basis.
What would you say the hardest part about shooting 4 kilometers is?
Besides elevation and seeing, well, at points I had wind. We were completely dialed on the windage. If I'm not mistaken, we're completely dialed right. So I don't know how many mils that is on the
6.5.
6.5 mils on the turret, and I had wind. Let's say the impacts were dancing. Elevation was relatively constant, and the windage was dancing to the wind up to another 7 mils. So at one point I was holding a holdover of 10 mils up, which is we were bottomed out on the turret, we were bottomed out on all the prisms and on the mount. So we still had to hold over the target to reach the distance, and I was completely in the corner of the reticle. So vision was quite difficult, so it was very difficult to see your own misses. So a lot of it is down to the good professional assistance that you guys gave in terms of what the miss is, where it was, and etc. So that kind of helped a hell of a lot.
So ELR is very much a team-based.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah, because I mean, look, we did this relatively on a whim, so it's not like we had spotters all the way up to 4 kilometers, and you know, weather people telling us what the weather is doing here and there, and you know, when we got to the target, we were actually quite shocked what the wind was, and how strong it was.
So I worked it out earlier.
Yeah.
We sort of averaged around about 45 meters to the right. That's all of our wind dialed.
Yeah.
Plus holding additional wind, that's kind of where we were, and 400 and something meters up.
Yeah, and I don't know what the absolute drop is, but I assume it's something crazy. So the bullet is somewhere almost in the stratosphere. Well, I'm joking, obviously, but I don't know what it is, 300, 400 meters above the ground. We were at an elevated location to start the shot, which helps a lot with the elevation in the turrets, because I think if we were level, I don't think we'd ever get that. Also
for Mirage, it would make it much better.
Exactly.
So it was not really an issue for us.
The weather wasn't great today. So we had wind. We had quite a milky day. So a lot of issue with vision, particularly. I think the Razor did a really good job. I quite like the scope. And Vitrix did an incredible job with this rifle. But I think we're now starting to get to the outer limits of its original design. I certainly think with better ammunition we will get to more of a consistent and more of a repeatable shot. But I think it's pretty much at its it's had its legs. That's it.
Yeah. I feel like one of our other limitations too was for the guys spotting.
Yeah.
We didn't have a reticle in our spotting scope.
Yeah, exactly. We just had hunting scopes or whatever, you know, like leisurely scopes with literally nothing to measure. So it is literally, you know, we see a splash in the dust. You know, I spotted for you, and you kind of try and picture another target and how many targets away was the miss. So it's a very much try and kind of miss and try again type of thing. So would I do this again? Of course, it's an incredible hobby. It's golf for big boys with a big bang. So and I can't stand golf because there's a lot of walking and it looks quite boring to me. So I'll stick to this one. So let's just keep lobbing lead out there.
Thanks, Leo.
Thank you, buddy.
Guys, thank you very much for watching. I will have our 2-mile and our 4-kilometer video over here for you guys somewhere. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.